Divorces are complicated. When the man you're divorcing is a geriatric fraudster suffering from dementia and facing 7 years in prison for embezzling millions, things get really messy. That's the unfortunate reality for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Erika Jayne, whose divorce from Tom Girardi remains in limbo. Ahead of Tom's fraud trial, some legal experts predicted the pair would remain married until death do them part. New legal documents reviewed by attorney Ronald Richards show that the courts are trying to push things forward. Will RHOBH's Erika Jayne finally divorce Tom Girardi? The family law judge has finally had enough and told her either get divorced or dismiss your case, Ronald wrote, along with an order from the Superior Court of California. The court order sets a case for order to show cause re. Failure to file dismissal/judgment on August 1, 2025. Essentially, that means the courts are trying to move the process along. Their case can't just sit on hold forever. Previously, one of Erika's lawyers, Jim Wilkes, explained that the divorce remained stagnant because of Tom's inability to defend himself. He'd also pointed out that there's nothing to fight for in the divorce. It's so easy to say that Erika did this or Erika did that. Erika was left with nothing in her name. Tom has nothing. What he had they found, and they liquidated, Jim explained. Meanwhile, Ronald claimed that the lack of progress in the divorce could be for more strategic reasons. He said it could be a ploy to show contrived outrage about the fraud her husband committed. It's a reminder that, despite Erika having a comeback in the entertainment industry, there are plenty of people who believe she was aware of the fraud. For next steps in the divorce, we'll have to wait until August 5. At that point, Erika might have to make a decision. She'll have to move forward with trying to divorce her felonious husband or sit back and wait for fate to handle it for her. The grand, gilded cage that had once been Erika Girardi's life was now a skeletal ruin, its opulent bars twisted and broken. Outside, the world watched, a ravenous audience devouring every crumb of her public humiliation. Inside, the silence of her scaled-down existence was deafening, punctuated only by the frantic whispers of her legal team and the distant, echoing clang of a gavel. It was late July 2025, and the California sun beat down with a relentless, almost mocking intensity on Los Angeles. For Erika, the heat was a physical manifestation of the pressure building around her. August 1st loomed, a date circled in angry red on every calendar, a deadline the Superior Court had imposed with the cold, unfeeling efficiency of a guillotine. Divorce or dismiss. The ultimatum hung heavy in the air, a cruel irony for a woman whose marriage had effectively ended years ago, long before the world knew the true extent of Tom Girardi's depravity. Erika sat in her modest rental, a far cry from the palatial Pasadena estate she'd once called home. The air conditioning hummed, a small comfort against the oppressive heat and the even more oppressive weight of her thoughts. Her phone, usually a vibrant portal to social media and endless opportunities, now felt like a lead weight, each notification a potential fresh wound. Ronald Richards, the attorney who seemed to relish dissecting her life on Twitter, had just posted another snippet of the court order, a digital taunt. The family law judge has finally had enough and told her either get divorced or dismiss your case. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. Finally had enough. She'd had enough years ago. Enough of the lies, enough of the secrets, enough of the gilded cage that had slowly, insidiously become a prison. But how do you divorce a ghost? How do you sever ties with a man who was, by all accounts, both a felon and a phantom, trapped in the fog of dementia? Her lawyer, Jim Wilkes, had been clear. Erika, there's nothing to fight for. Tom has nothing. What he had, they found, they liquidated. You were left with nothing in your name. Jim's words, delivered with a weary resignation, were a constant refrain in her mind. It was true. The furs, the jewels, the private jets, the glam squad, the sprawling mansion, all gone, swallowed by the gaping maw of Tom's legal debts and the claims of his victims. She was, financially, a blank slate. But Ronald Richards and his ilk saw it differently. They saw strategy, a calculated ploy. It could be a ploy to show contrite outrage about the fraud her husband committed. He tweeted, his words echoing the pervasive public sentiment. It's a reminder that despite Erika having a comeback in the entertainment industry, there are plenty of people who believe she was aware of the fraud. The accusation stung, sharp and persistent. Aware of the fraud. The phrase was a brand, seared onto her public persona. How could she have known? The man she married, the titan of law, the one who commanded respect and fear in equal measure, had built an impenetrable fortress around his darker dealings. He presented her with a life of unimaginable luxury, a stage upon which she could perform her alter ego, Erika Jayne. She had been a performer, not an accountant, not a co-conspirator. Or so she told herself over and over, in the quiet hours of the night when doubt crept in like a cold mist. She remembered the early days, the thrill of the chase, the intoxicating allure of Tom's power. He was decades older, a formidable presence, and she, a young woman with a dream and a fierce ambition. He had promised her the world, and for a time, he had delivered it. The private jets, the designer clothes, the endless possibilities. She had believed in the fantasy, had lived it with every fiber of her being. She had been Erika Jayne, the Pat the Puss Queen, the unapologetic embodiment of glamour and excess. Now the glitter was gone, replaced by the harsh glare of public scrutiny. The lawsuits, the depositions, the endless questions about what she knew when she knew it. The shame was a heavy cloak, suffocating her. She had been complicit, not in the fraud itself, she maintained, but in the willful blindness that allowed her to enjoy its fruits. She had trusted, perhaps too blindly, perhaps too eagerly. The divorce, initially filed as a desperate attempt to create a legal firewall between herself and Tom's crumbling empire, had become another battleground. If she dismissed it, would it look like an admission of guilt, a tacit agreement to remain tethered to a man whose name was synonymous with deceit? If she pushed forward, what then? The legal fees alone were astronomical, a cruel joke when she was fighting to rebuild her life from scratch. Her phone buzzed. It was Lisa, her friend and fellow housewife, a steady presence in the chaotic storm. "You okay, EJ?" the text read. Erika sighed, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. "Just trying to figure out if I'm divorcing a ghost or embracing a pariah." The reply came almost instantly. "You're a survivor. You always have been. We'll get through this." Lisa's unwavering support was a lifeline. So was the slow, arduous climb back into the entertainment world. Small gigs, appearances, the occasional reality TV commitment. It wasn't the Erika Jayne of old, but it was a start, a way to earn, to pay the mounting legal bills, to prove to herself and to the world that she wasn't just a gilded accessory to a criminal enterprise. The memory of Tom, vibrant and commanding, flickered in her mind. Before the dementia, before the accusations, before the fall. He had been a force of nature, a brilliant, if ruthless, legal mind. It was hard to reconcile that image with the frail, confused man now facing a prison sentence. The dementia was a cruel twist, a final, agonizing layer to the tragedy. How could she divorce a man who barely knew his own name, let alone the charges against him? It felt like kicking a dying dog. Yet not divorcing him felt like an eternal entanglement, a perpetual shadow over her future. The August 1st deadline wasn't just about legal procedure, it was about narrative. The public, the media, they craved a clean ending, a definitive statement. Divorce would be a declaration of independence, a final break. Dismissal, however, would be seen as an admission, a continuation of the perceived conspiracy. Erika walked over to the window, gazing out at the palm trees swaying gently in the hot breeze. The city stretched out before her, indifferent to her personal drama. She thought about the women Tom had wronged, the millions he had embezzled from plane crash victims, burn victims, orphans. The sheer scale of his betrayal was staggering, and it was a burden she carried, however unfairly, on her shoulders. She closed her eyes, picturing the courtroom. The stern face of the judge, the watchful eyes of the press, the silent judgment of the public. She had to make a decision, and it had to be the right one, not just legally, but morally. The phone buzzed again. This time, it was her publicist. "Erika, we need to talk strategy for August 5th. What's the plan?" August 5th, the day she would have to face the music, one way or another. Erika took a deep breath. The decision, she realized, wasn't just about her. It was about reclaiming her narrative, about showing the world that she was not a victim, nor was she a villain. She was a woman who had been caught in a maelstrom of deceit, and she was fighting her way out. The thought of dismissing the divorce, of remaining legally bound to a man who had shattered her life and reputation, was unbearable.